Oh. Fish. Oh, it's empty now. Hey there folks, Redshirts here with a first look on Tale of Onogoro. Thank you for Ramada KK for the key, for being able to have me play this and relay me my experience to every one of you. First of all, want to clarify, this game is out on Steam, Oculus, and PSVR2 right now. I might have been missing some platforms there, but I don't think I did. And I will be looking at the PlayStation VR2 version. And let's just jump right into it. First of all, graphics. It's an anime style game, bit of cel shaded look to it. Very nice, very clean. Bit static in some points, and you see a lot of repetition in, for example, enemies. Except for a few big bosses you encounter, but the character you interact with and the main enemy are very nicely designed and put onto the game. It looks really cool, really fun, especially if you're into anime. That works in your favor anytime. You can choose complete Japanese or English voice acting. I kept it on Japanese, but I did choose the subtitles because anime purist, sorry about that. Besides that, it is basically a puzzle open world game with a little bit of shooting element to it, which is basically a puzzle as well. You use your hands and you have two divine weapons, as they are called. Celestial weapons, sorry, wrong name. Which you can use to lift certain objects with. If you lift stuff, it's only one hand at a time. Or you can use it to grab certain elements to fire a shot of that element towards a switch or an enemy that is weak to it. Combining the lifting and shooting, you are making your way through different areas in the game with semi-small setup areas in which you clear puzzles by using the right element on the right switch at the right time. While evading and protecting the character you carry around with you. Yes, a big stone with a sword that she's chained to, you carry it around. While you work your way through the area, carrying her around, making sure she and yourself don't get a lot of damage, let's put it that way, because sometimes it's just a bit overwhelming. You make your way through the game, solving these puzzles so you can get rid of barriers, so you can continue on to the next area, which you will use to fight new enemies and eventually even bigger incensed kami, as they're called, basically bosses. Every time you defeat a boss, you regain some power back to your companion, and not to go into it spoilery or anything, there is a limited number of kami or bosses you will encounter. After basically the first one, you will notice, if you listen to what she's saying, you will notice how many kami you will have to fight. Each one also has different techniques you have to use to defeat them, different weaknesses, different ways to go about it. Yeah, so it's a really fun, interesting game that works really well. Looking at the mechanics of the game, it is really simple. Basically, you have two hands. The only thing you do with those hands, besides dancing, which I did a lot actually, is either grabbing her hand for destroying barriers or healing yourself when you grab both hands, or grabbing the two celestial weapons, or one of them, depending on what your game is there, grabbing these two weapons to solve the puzzles and defeat the enemies. There's not a lot more going on there, controller-wise, as you walk around, of course, and stuff like that. You have, of course, the turn option and the smooth one. I mean the slower one and the smooth turning. So yeah, you have that available to you. And of course, the fights themselves, they can be tricky if you don't keep an eye on your entire environment, as is in basically all VR games. Keep an eye on that if you're not used to VR games yet. Also, soundtrack. The sound is amazing. It really gave, at some points, it really gave me the Ghost in the Shell vibe when it came to the music, the bit of the hymn-like songs. It is a bit of a much used genre kind of music that you find in games like this. But that also fits really well with the stylized, the way the game is stylized. One thing I do have to say that I was not a big fan of, but I do understand why they chose it like this, because there's little interaction between you and the companion character. Basically, you are there to help her. She is technically the main character, and you're just an extension of her, helping her around. But she sometimes at certain cutscenes she would talk about stuff around her and the city and the village and what she does and stuff. And it's not bad that she does that. It's just like you're walking, you have had the action, you come to the end, you want to destroy the barrier, and there she stands talking to you, rambling on a little bit, but which is story-wise understanding, but for a gameplay point of view, might be a bit distracting at some point, because you came from all the action and then suddenly you have to drag stop. Hey, she's talking to you, you cannot do anything at all. While you do have the ability to look around at that point, so you have semi-freedom, but you still have to listen to what she says. Of course, you can skip. Would not recommend, because you do miss some story which might be important at some points to understand what's going on. But the option is there. Also, the game, the areas you go through, you have a few areas, one after another, you play through until you end a level, which you get a score screen from, with a time you played, the score you actually did, certain collectibles you found or didn't find, which is on one side very interesting, especially if you want, for example, to be a completionist or a speedrunner, but if you're going in there for the story itself, it is kind of immersion breaking, honestly. You're going through there, you're like, oh cool, let's go to the next challenge, to the next area, and then bam, score screen. Some people might not have any problem with that, but I found it to be a bit immersion breaking. But aside from that and the rambling, between brackets, I found that the game itself gave me a very interesting opportunity to work with VR for the puzzles. They really looked into those very well with the elements and the lifting and certain switches you had to pull. Very interesting. Some were harder than I expected, honestly. Not impossible by any means, but they gave me a bit of a challenge to think about them, so that was fun. So if you like anime, you like puzzle games, and you are really into the VR space, you can get this for a decent price on the PlayStation VR store, or of course on Oculus or Steam. Hope you like the review I just did for this, and hope to see you again for the next one. Laters.